Alright, I'm back right away. I'll show you this creek just because it's cool. The ducks went away. And we've got an old barn way in the distance. I don't know if you can see it, but I'll zoom in on it. Why not? I love these old barns. Alright, so I'm going to put this thing down, line it back up, and away we go, right? Okay, so this is part 2, and I stopped on this page, so we're going to just get right to it. And I'm not really talking in any type of format or in any type of logical or chronological order. I'm kind of talking while I'm doing this stuff. You know, I've grown a lot since in the 5 years since I've written this, and I've learned a lot. And even with my notes that I have been showing and stuff, that's just a little part of them, but that's just the well-written part. Some of them are not rewritten, and they're all over the place. But, you know, even in that, I haven't really written in like 2 years. I've maybe jotted down a couple things here and there. But, you know, and then too, when I went through my notes, I kind of added a little bit, and I just cleaned up a little bit, just because that's what I tend to do. I like to. This book here, though, is the original, totally the original from 2014. But I try to get this stuff out as soon as I can. I was still really into, even years ago, you know, fighting against this sun worship and stuff, and the tricks of the devil and stuff. Been at this about, when this is all over in the next, after 2 years, it'll be 20 years that I've been at this stuff, fighting this stuff. And I was insanely into the devil, you know, for almost 20 years, about 20 years. And so it's hilarious that, like, half of I'm 45 right now, 46, I don't know, I don't keep track of age or time. But it's pretty funny how half my life was intense for the devil and half was intense for God. And there's so many just little nuances that are so symbolic all around me. You know, I can get into the details, but it's like so, even just me, I grew up in the middle of Michigan, right in the center of Michigan, you know, that's like right in the center of the hand. You know, with the nails in Christ's hand. Like there's one thing after another that's not just one or two things, just how he's had my life run out. Everyone he's got plans for, and whatever you have had happen in your life, he can even work with, whether it was his plan or not, or his allowance or not. You know, God is good. That's why I really believe in real time, because not just the evidence, but it's the only thing that makes sense. He adjusts and adapts, and his next move is your move now, you know? It's a God that can, like I said in the one chapter, deal with a million things at the same time. Try not to repeat what I got written down in any notes or anything, but and I kept wanting to rewrite this. I kept wanting to rewrite this book and modernize it kind of with the new science that I've learned and stuff, and with new health stuff that I've learned, and kind of make it a little smoother and I think it's pretty good. But of course, the sort of person is always their own worst, critic. I'm a perfectionist. Even at my job, I do my first love in life was anything mechanical. Vehicles, cars, small engines, anything, welding, making stuff. That was great, I loved it. And then the next sort of love in my life was houses. I loved doing anything with houses and yards, and especially painting. I'm the icing on the cake. And then my love in life for the next, 10 years or whatever was people. And it's been people, intensely. And Who cares if a car's broken down, If a person's broke down, that's pretty important. Or a house is broke down, And if that broken down house can help a person to heal by showing love, then that's great too. Christians tend to just pat people on the back and say, oh, I'll pray for you. Well, why don't we do something about it? Even if it takes our time, our energy, our money. Like, do something about it, Don't just pray. We should be looking for people to help. We should be, the minute we get extra money or extra time, we should be like, what can I do? What can I go out and do? And I know a lot of us are. I know a lot of us are really into this stuff. And I'm not saying I have been, or I've wasted way too much time. I've been just as messed up as everyone. I'm not, yeah, I had that 50 days of this purity that's just undescribable. And people are going to need it to get through this first chunk of this stuff. It's 144, 1,000. Oh, sorry. Flipped it. But, I get into health a lot too. And we're being poisoned. We can't understand stuff, can't comprehend stuff. Because our brains are not working right. And I know it for a fact. I've seen all the literature and the shows, but I've done it back and forth. I've smoked a lot of pot and gone back and forth. And pot is not, if you overdo it, it's a problem. But I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying that sobriety is your frontal lobe. And alcohol wipes out your frontal lobe in percentages until you're only running on the back of your brain, It's like, the prophet says, the Father and Son, we come to you. I forgot how the wording, but he says, it's a thing that I do from the back of my head, Paul Simon, Graceland. That's our spirit, the back of our head, And, the memory. And sometimes, we need perfect awareness, to go before God and to just sometimes to figure things out, to rethink things that we've been on a track, just doing like a robot. Sometimes we got to get knocked off our track, But that's a whole different subject. I probably won't get into this now, but it is a medicine. So I'm like halfway through almost. I'm at 7 minutes. This is going to take a bit. Oh, I'm up to where prophecies, principles. This you guys maybe already seen or heard, but I'm still going to go through it because I need this as a whole. I could scan these and just get them out, but man, I already got a ton of them out there in physical discs. There's so many of these things out there. It's just they're not out to all the world, some people maybe just don't have it. It's one of these things you just can't go get, even if you print it up, you just can't go get something like this or Ellen White or things like that at your local library or your local bookstore. It's just not there. So yeah, our brain, literally, it's pretty simple. We are a soul, we have a spirit and a body. And, we got to have both working good. Our soul is our conscience. It's more than that, but it's our conscience. And our spirit is our subconscious, and it's more than that. And there's a physical and invisible copy. And the invisible copy goes back to God is when we die for the judgment and for our new body when we get resurrected. But the awareness needs a body, as we see in the Bible. You see it here. It needs a body and I don't have to tell you again. You just read this stuff. We need a body and the breath of life. The Spirit of God to animate us, to make us an awareness or a soul. It's devil's trickeries that try to get us to not believe that. And when we have, these people, we're having our feel-good hormones stolen from us, like literally stolen from us. And then when people go to try to replace them on the street because they don't know about healthy living, we freak out on them. They're just trying to replace their dopamine and serotonin and all this stuff. Yes, it's bad stuff. Yes, it's bad drugs that get us to do anything for it. Maybe we should understand that that's how we're going to feel in heaven. We're going to feel totally content, totally excited, totally clear thinking, like we're on speed, like we're on, pot. We're going to be so happy. Every situation's going to be played out perfectly, emotionally, logically, everything. And instead of trying so hard to get these drugs and have heaven here and have bad side effects from these drugs here, or we won't in heaven, let's try our hardest to get into heaven and be high every minute for all eternity. That's what we need to do, not get all cracked out on Doritos. Come on, man, this stuff's addicting. And then you're going to yell at somebody on the street? Like, they're both poison. They're both. This MSG, it's in everything under 50 different hidden names. The oils that are concentrated. Come on, man. Like, we can't make feel-good hormones because we're not getting the one. The other's muscling out the one. We need the omega-3 in normal amounts. And when we have too much 6, it's not going to work out. I could say this stuff all simple. I could say it complicated. But, when we're not eating good food full of fiber and we're eating sugars and stuff and feeding the bad bacteria, our gut bacteria can't make, the serotonin and the dopamine that it makes. And we can't help but be depressed. When I go off on, some weird, processed food and all, smoking too much pot and all this other stuff, I can't help but be depressed. I can't help to get into a huge slump and not hear the voice of God. And I cloud up my senses, and I don't have the same intuition and the same, feels that I normally have, in situations. So I know for a fact this stuff is messing us up. I've proved it again and again. I'm my own freaking guinea pig. So maybe if I speed up, I can actually fit this into an hour and a half. I don't know. But so yeah, when we ditch this stuff, when we start getting proper sleep at proper hours, and all these 7 principles of health that we've had, we've even organized them into New Start, into this acronym. One group did. And, it's nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, fresh air, or temperance, air, rest, and trusting God. These pillars. When we have these, our minds can clear up and we can start discerning things. It's not just to live longer. There's not much time to live longer. It's to live forever. To logically see what we're in, how to get out of it, to not be... We wrestle so hard against these habits and this way of thinking and way of dealing with everything. We're wrestling so hard. And it's because we can't think straight. And we end up on the devil's side, and then we're getting into even more, mind delusions and stuff. I'm not saying anybody's going to be saved, by eating healthy, because the people on the other, side eat healthy. They want to listen to their God, clearly, and their angels clearly. So I'm just saying, if you want your best shot at this thing, drop this garbage. And I don't know. They got us. They got us because these things are in almost everyone. And if these little robots and stuff. And if you worship the sun, they'll shut them off as you're taking the mass, in church. They'll shut it off. They'll say, come to church and be saved and be healed. And they'll have this 5G and they'll literally be, or it'll be in the freaking, the things that, counteract what they gave us will be in the little discs or the wine or something. Like, they're literally up to a million things. And every little thing, it's so overwhelmingly deceptive that we'll fall for it if we don't have this special protection from God. And we only get that special protection from God by being on His side. We need Him. I gotta find more of my stuff. Like, I even got stuff from when I was a kid. I wrote this really cool story that's just, there's so much prophecy all around us. It's wild. And like it says, in the end times, your sons and your daughters will prophesy. It's just been in codes, and it probably still will continue to be in codes. Except for these 144,000. They just come right out and say whatever the heck they're supposed to say. Yeah, we might have to wiggle around a little bit after the dark day, that the Bible talks about. Who is able to stand. Oh, sorry, I'm going too slow. If I get close, and it's like I'm on the last couple pages, I might just super speed these up. Sorry, guys. I just don't want to overwhelm you guys. You got a week to go talk to people. A week to get on track. A week to get out there, I'm not saying get good sleep if you got to stay up, Do whatever you can. Like, we got a week to get as many people on God's side and understanding the issues so they can, have happen whatever the devil wants to happen to them, It's His world after Easter. And a lot of people will be praying, will be not praying, but a lot of people afterwards will be just wishing they'd have made it through before Easter. We only get a quarter out of the after Easter world. It's going to be a tough world to get people out of. They're going to be so intense into this. All God's people will be gone. Like, not all. You got 144,000. You got a bunch of people, SDAs, hanging out in the wilderness right now with no robots in them. God specially protects because they do have scanning devices and they got everything. They've got everything. Even if you don't have a phone next to you, even if there's no little robot bug, this is the devil's time and the devil's hear everything. They're around and they, if it's important, will make it known what you're up to. You need 100% special protection from God. So, this is kind of nice. I just got kind of a little time to ramble. But I see people in stores constantly. I see them divided. One person really wants to hear it, and the other one really wants to get the heck out of the way and not hear any of it. And this world's about to divide. It's not an army going around killing people. It's loved ones killing each other. That's the test of obedience, for the devil or whatever. The false test of obedience. So I'm like it's saying here, these two covenants. The old covenant was between God and man. And it's, the Cain thing. It's the Cain covenant. It's the, it's the covenant with every bad person that's tried to, save themselves. The new covenant is between God and His Son, Jesus. The old one's between God and man. Even when He officially gave the old covenant, at Mount Sinai, they messed it up quick. They started worshiping idols. Quick. They didn't say, what about the everlasting covenant between you and Abraham? What about this one that says only Christ? What about the Lamb? It says, everything everything you say we're going to do. And they didn't know what they were talking about. Salvation by works. We need the new covenant. It's only through Christ. Only through Christ. He's the one that made the agreement with the Father. He's the one that came and lived a perfect life because he totally 100% relied on his Father. And he's the one that died in our place. Yeah. There's only one Jesus. So yeah, it's through him. It's him that made the contract and fulfilled the contract. We made it and broke it. Through Christ. And we are in the details, though. We are the clause that says anybody that has me living in their hearts, in them, is going to be saved. It's going to be pulled out of this. It wouldn't make such a big mess and not pull us out. Not only that, but we're replacing the fallen angels. Even Satan himself is going to be replaced by some human. We're going to have the two covering cherubs, one an angel and one a human. It's going to be great. Maybe we're going above and beyond the third of the angels that fell. Maybe half of God's, people that are closest to him out of all the universe. Maybe half of God's people are going to be angels, and the other half are going to be, humans. We don't know if we're going to only replace a third of the angels. We might have a whole new number starting off. But we're replacing them. I can't say for sure that exact amount of number of people are going to be saved. People change their minds. This is real time. People literally might get more than a quarter. There's a conditional type stuff too. How do we know it's not conditional? That a quarter are going to be, weighed, which seemed to disappear. What the heck? It said one in the scales, 1 part wheat, 1 part barley. It just said that a couple weeks ago. And now it's not there. These things are changing that quick. Man. It's about to get bad. I keep snagging on the steering wheel, but that's okay. You guys are getting it. If I do one twice, don't mind me. Or if I do flip it, I'm on the even side first and then flip it to the uneven. Just doing what I can do. This is real, sure I did have a couple takes, but that was for other technical reasons. So yeah, these holidays, you're going to have this whole world change on Easter. When people say, well, what if it doesn't happen this year? It's like so many things are set up in so many different ways and even paralleled. If it doesn't happen maybe it's not going to happen on the second watch. Maybe there's a third watch. I don't know. I'm still going to keep at it. I'm still going to keep going. If it doesn't happen this Sunday or this Easter, it's going to happen next Easter. This stuff has been set up for so long. He can't help but use the only day he's been given, These holidays that he's set up for thousands of years. He's allowed to do it then. That's when he's going to do it. And I don't know if I go to a different place, if God says go to this place instead of D.C., where he lands. I don't know, what's the one song says he's going to land in Iowa? It fell from the sky or something, and Rome is like claiming it and saying, oh, it's mine. The United States is saying, no, it's mine. And Rome actually says, The Lord has come. I think it's called, it came from the sky, or it fell from the sky, or something. Creedence Clearwater Revival. There's a ton of people out there that have been warning us for a long time. You know, Dark Moon Rising, or whatever the heck it's called. I forget the name of these things. I don't really study this stuff out. I study it enough to see what's up, and that's about it. God tells me what's up, leads me to good information, good, cool people, and I go from there. I've had some awesome experiences. And I've seen these holidays as they happen. God didn't tell me until the year before the holiday. Like last Easter, right around Easter, I was up, God says, I would go to different, I've been going to, 1-2 churches every Sunday, and 1 or 2 Sabbath churches every Saturday. And, one week God told me go to the Catholic Church, in London, the big one. Probably right where, that one quote, Sunday is our mark of authority, the church is above the Bible, and this transference of Sabbath observance is proof of that fact. That quote came out of London, Ontario. So God's, I'm St. Thomas, so I'm pretty close. God says, go there for Easter. This is last Easter. And I went there, and I'm changing the songs and stuff as they're singing along, and I'm like, they ain't going to be turning this thing into Jesus in front of me. And I'm not disturbing too much, but afterwards, afterwards I disturbed it quite a bit and had, the Jesuits called out, but that's okay. God froze up their robot squirrel. After I talked to them, and they told me exactly what was going to happen. Well, not exactly, but the exact time. So anyways, as I was there watching this Mass, and the priest holds up this round disc, and I always thought it was the sun, but it's like, why are they putting the sun in the sun? So he holds up this disc, and God's like, it's the moon, And he lets me see stuff when it's time, because he knows how loud I am, He tells me not to say some stuff, and there's some stuff that I just still, but that's beside the point. So he shows me a year ahead of time of all these holidays, and he's like, that's the moon, and then they bring the sun down the center aisle in a big procession. He's like, and that's the sun. And it's how it's going to play out in the sky. Because I knew he was before that, I knew he was coming down from the sun. I just didn't know exactly how. I didn't have all the details. I knew he was going to come down from the sun, and I've even said it openly and wrote it and stuff. And so anyways, it's like literally, even last Valentine's Day, he told me, St. Valentine's Day Mass here is going to repeat. It's literally going to happen the next. And I knew it. It was kind of in the back of my head, but it really sinks in when it's there and it's a year away. Christmas, I was in Michigan hanging out with family. They're not really into this stuff. In fact, they oppose it. And I don't know, it's God judges everyone differently. I don't know what's going to happen out of everything. But I pray for him. And so I'm out there with my buddy Corey. And I get this hankering to go to Midnight Mass, so we find the biggest one around, the only one around, really. And we go down there, and there's quotes that come out of the area, too, the Marysville sort of area. St. Clair area. I forgot the one. It was, it's a pretty popular quote. Came out of Algonac. There you go. So there's Catholic quotes down there, too. And so we went in there. It was a trip, too. We had all kinds of insane things happening. A Jesuit tells me he's going to take me out of there in pieces. And he actually did, because he ripped the hat off my head as I was walking out and put it back on after a bunch of other stuff. But I just wanted to go tell the priest that that's not Jesus in the moon, Jesus isn't in the moon. But anyways, God told me, what's going to happen on Christmas, last Christmas. So anyways, I'm right up to my half an hour point. I am going to start back off with page 237 when we get back. Love you guys. Keep hanging in there. It's awesome in the end. We got a chapter on heaven. Later.